Coming up on District Wire News, the sequestration. 450,000 local jobs at risk this week. But will the spending cut go through before the end of the week?
And smoking ban. The city of D.C. is considering banning smoking near playgrounds. A proposed smoking ban near playgrounds is being discussed this week. We sat down with Councilman Vincent Orange to talk about it. District Wire News starts now.
Good evening, I'm Kelly Chase.
And I'm Chris Aldan.
The long-awaited sequestration is here. Automatic spending cuts will go into effect this Friday if Congress fails to strike a deal. In D.C. alone, hundreds of thousands of jobs are on the line. Ashley Abraham has the story.
Federal employees in the D.C. metro area and across the country will face cutbacks if Congress can't reach an agreement on the federal budget by Friday. $85 billion worth of spending cuts will go into effect. The budget cuts would mean federal employees will be forced to take unpaid furlough days and have their pay frozen for another year. Few are optimistic about a resolution.
And if the sequestration is extended, there will be furloughs. People will go home without pay.
A Wells Fargo report shows that employees here in D.C., Maryland, and Virginia would be among those most severely impacted by the cuts. The sequestration has been a threat since 2011 and was narrowly avoided by a last-minute extension on January 1st of this year. The new deadline for a budget deal is quickly approaching. Some experts fear that federal employees are going to have to shoulder an unfair burden if the sequestration goes into effect.
Up to $103 billion, that's billion with a B, over 10 years that federal employees have already sacrificed to reduce our country's debt issue. Now we're asking for these people to go out of work for 22 days this year in the case of defense employees, EPA employees 7 days, Department of Housing and Urban Development 7 days. And this is going to happen at other agencies all throughout government. Federal employees are really at their breaking point, and sequestration is what's going to put them over the edge.
Estimates released this weekend from the White House say nearly 160,000 workers in the D.C. metro area would be impacted by the sequestration. Reporting for AU News, I'm Ashley Abraham.
Federal budget cuts are affecting more than just people. Wild animal exhibits at the National Zoo may be removed if $85 billion is cut from spending. Zookeepers say that no matter what, they'll plan to keep all their staff and keep existing animals fed. However, the cuts could mean less education and research projects. Projects like the Cheetahs exhibit expose the public to rare wildlife. They also help raise money to keep endangered species alive.
The D.C. Council voted today to reprimand Council member Jim Graham for his role in the district's lottery contract scandal. Media swarmed Graham this morning as he approached the council chamber for the hearing. District investigators say Graham told a developer he would support his bid for a lottery contract if the developer dropped plans for a different project. The D.C. Council voted 11-2 this morning to reprimand him, the least serious action it can take against a member. Graham's attorney said the Ward 1 representative was not given his due process.
For the sake of any member of the community, that any DC employee, any member of this council that's going to be subjected to punishment by the Board of Ethics and Government Accountability, we continue to maintain that Mr. Graham's rights were violated.
The reprimand from the council carries no punishment. Graham denies any wrongdoing and is suing DC's Board of Ethics and Government Accountability for denying him due process.
Kids on the jungle gym might be able to breathe a little easier. The D.C. Council is thinking about banning smoking within 25 feet of playgrounds. Janara Ferrone has more on the story.
The D.C. Council is planning to add playgrounds to the list where smoking isn't tolerated. The bill, which states smoking isn't allowed within 25 feet of a playground, is sponsored by Councilmember Vincent Orange. The law will extend smoking laws from restaurants and government buildings to include playgrounds.
Well, this seemed like a logical step to extend that same law to parks where our children play. We want them to have a safe and warm environment without being subject to secondhand smoke.
I'm here at Southeastern D.C. at Chamberlain Playground, where the rules are about to change for those who play, or at least for those who smoke. Now, the new law proposed by Councilman Vincent Orange will prohibit smoking within 25 feet of a playground. Now, to put in perspective how far that 25 feet is, from where I started walking to where I stand right now is approximately 20 feet. Councilman Orange says only a couple complaints were filed about smoking at playgrounds. But the councilman is involved in the non-smoking movement and sees the effects firsthand.
This is just a logical step, and I've seen places where children have been subject to secondhand smoke at a lot of the parks as well, and especially the DC Parks and Recreation Centers, they really should be smoke-free.
There is an exception to the rule. If you live within 25 feet of a playground, you are free to smoke on your own property. For District News Wire, I'm Gennaro Ferrone.
Mayor Gray has ordered an immediate change to DC license plates. Instead of reading Washington, D.C., plates will now say District of Columbia. Mayor Gray says the new look better reflects the history of the city by using its original name. Representative Mike Panetta proposed a similar change in 2010. The first plates are reserved for people close to the mayor.
People from Virginia can expect changes in the way they pay for roads, highways, and mass transit. The Virginia General Assembly passed a new transportation bill on Saturday. Rachel Rood has more in the story.
A historic transportation bill is on its way to Virginia Governor Bob McDonnell's desk after the state Senate passed it through on Saturday evening. The bipartisan bill is the first in 27 years to completely reform transportation funding in Virginia. It gives $880 million to road construction, public transit projects, and highway maintenance, one of the major concerns of Virginia drivers.
The roads have to be maintained and attention has to be paid to the congestion. So anything that moves in that direction I think is a good thing.
One part of the new bill concerning residents is asking hybrid owners to pay a $100 registration fee to add revenue to the state. One Arlington city official says this sends a mixed message to those who want to be more environmentally conscious.
For years now, they've been saying use less gas, and now they kind of go back and say, okay, you're not using enough gas, so we're not getting the revenue, so we're going to cost you $100 extra bucks.
But overall is in support of the bill.
It's about time somebody came to the forefront with a new plan of some sort, because we desperately need it.
Virginians may see the benefits of this bill as early as July of this year. The transportation project is a victory for Governor McDonnell, as signing this bill becomes one of his final legacies in his last year in office. For District Wire News, I'm Rachel Rood.
Construction crews are working on a temporary barrier after an SUV crashed through the Memorial Bridge in Arlington on Sunday. The SUV crashed into a shallow section of the Potomac River, but the driver was able to swim to safety and suffered only minor injuries. The crash has left a 28-foot gaping hole located on the bridge's south side. The National Park Service says some lanes will have to remain closed while the damage is repaired.
The D.C. Department of Transportation is getting public opinion on its new streetcar project. One streetcar that runs from H Street to Benning Road is now under construction and is being discussed at a meeting tomorrow night. Julia Brommel has more on the story.
By the end of 2013, there could be a lot less buses in the streets of Washington. The District Department of Transportation is working on a project to build a streetcar network for the entire district. Here on Benning Street and H Street, streetcars used to be a normal sight from the late 19th century until the 1960s. And this is also where the first streetcar line is going live at the end of this year, connecting the far northeast with Union Station.
We finished about 80% of the construction along H. Benning during the Great Streets program a few years ago. Now we're doing the final 20% that we need in order to get the line actually up and running.
The Benning H Street line is only one of 8 lines and will be part of an extensive network of almost 40 miles of streetcar tracks that will save all 8 wards of the city. The Department of Transportation says it will take about 30 years to build the entire network. The planners also say they are hoping to reduce traffic and air pollution and make parts of the district more accessible.
If you're coming into the city and you want to take a gander down H Street and eat at one of the fabulous restaurants or take in a performance at the Atlas Theater, you'll be able to do that by coming in on Metro and then connecting to the H Street streetcar and not have to drive.
But the extensive construction along the lines also had its downsides, especially for business owners on H Street.
Everyone complained. Majority, we lost a lot of customers. We lost more than half of the customers.
The District Department of Transportation is holding a public meeting tomorrow evening to address concerns by residents and business owners about the impacts of this year's construction. The The department also says the streetcars will ultimately help boost businesses in the area. From Washington, D.C., this is Julia Brummer.
D.C. Councilman Vincent Orange is proposing legislation to set a minimum time limit for yellow traffic lights. Councilman Orange is concerned that yellow lights may be shorter where red light cameras are present. The minimum length for a yellow light is currently set at 4 seconds. D.C. collected over $26 million last month from its camera system.
Drivers in the D.C. metro area can expect lighter wallets with increasing gas prices. Gas prices in the D.C. area have increased 36 cents in the past month, and the national average has raised 13%. AAA says that gas prices are 12 cents higher than this time last year.
Prince George's County Police have made arrests following 2 homicides in Capitol Heights on Monday. Police say Trevon Bennett has been arrested for the murder of 18-year-old Markel Ross. Bennett gunned down Ross as he walked to school. Also, police officials announced that James Ward has been arrested in connection with the murder of Geraldine McIntyre on February 9th. Both murders were robbery attempts.
Tacoma Park Police are waiting for the results of 2 autopsies today for 2 men shot dead on Sunday. David Drar and Stephen Kyle Hickman died from gunshot wounds in an apartment shootout. Police Chief Alan Goldberg says the incident may have been a murder-suicide. Goldberg also says police will increase more details once the autopsy results come through.
A Maryland Senate committee is getting closer to getting rid of the death penalty in the state. The bill to get rid of the death penalty proposed by Governor O'Malley passed with a 6-5 vote. All 6 votes were by Democrats. The death penalty has been on hold since a court ruling found that lethal injection had not been approved by a legislative committee. Coming up after the break, American University is kicking off Diversity Week on campus. We'll show you how AU is celebrating diversity.
And the Kennedy Center is playing host to Nordic Festival for the next month. We've got the details. Stay with us.